Hi everyone, this is Margaret Manning with Retire Different. Retire Different is a place for people who want to make good financial decisions before they retire so that they can have an amazing retirement. My guest today is Pam Krueger. Pam is an investing and financial expert. She is an author and TV personality, co-host of PBS Money Track, and the creator of Wealth Ramp, which is an online tool that helps you connect fiduciary advisors with consumers. Welcome, Pam.
Hi. Where's your tea?
I've got my tea here. Pam and I are great tea drinkers, so every time we chat, we have a different. I've got a new mug and I've got a new tea. What have you got?
I've got a mug that says, "Today is a good day."
Totally is. I agree. Cheers. Actually, mine doesn't say anything, but I am drinking. I'm a huge, I investigate new teas. This is by Pukka. It's a wild apple and cinnamon. Doesn't that sound exciting? I couldn't see wild apple actually in the ingredients. It's probably like 3% at the very bottom. They wave an apple over the tea, but.
Ooh, can I get a list of your favorite teas?
Of course.
I'll give you a list of my best money tips if you give me a list of your favorite
fair
teas.
trade.
I've got my old tried and true. It's my jasmine green. I'm going to stray one of these days, but I just love this.
Be adventurous. Well, look, Pam is not just a tea connoisseur, but she's actually a very wise investing and financial expert. And we've got her here to really add some intelligence to the conversation about Retire Different, because we know that people are working longer. They're going to be living longer because we're educated and better health. And it's a really good idea to ask the questions early on so that you can retire differently than anyone ever has in the past. So Pam is going to bring in experts that she's worked with, who she trusts and, can vouch for their credibility. And we're going to have a really open conversation here, like round the table with tea, just about stuff that you can think about. And the topic today, Pam, has got to do with your 401K and the IRA. How do you manage those in the years leading up to your retirement?
So at that point, let's just say that you're 5 to 10 years, even maybe 10 years out. Let's say that you're 60 and you intend to work to 70, or that you're 58. You're going to work another 5 years or another 10 years. So you're still at work. This is the time before you leave the nest, before you leave that land of opportunity where you actually have benefits, and your employer actually does want you to retire either on time or early.
Yeah.
And you know why?
Saves the money.
They're really incentivized because you cost more money.
Absolutely.
We start getting expensive as employees once we're over 50. Yeah. That's just the rude, true economics of the way it works. But the employer just does want to look out for your best interest and help you in as many ways as they can. So to not look at what you have available while you're still working is like walking away from free money. So first of all, you're at work and you have your 401k plan. You want to be looking at the ways you can, maximize, you can boost your savings. You want to turbocharge it.
Right.
Fast track it as best you can. Make sure, obviously, that you're getting the full match contribution if your employer does offer a match. About half of all companies offer some kind of free money.
Yes, it's amazing.
Every dollar you put in, they might put in 60 cents up to a certain level. That's just free money. It's like getting a return on your money without having to do anything. But also looking at things that are not quite as obvious. For example, a lot of companies have what's called a health savings account. Now that sounds very plain vanilla, and it sounds like, oh yeah, so what? It's like a flexible spending account, right? It's not. So we tend to lump all these benefits together because they all sound the same. But stop and look find out if you have a health savings account, because if you do at work, it's an HSA. If you have one of these babies, this is a game changer. And I'll tell you why. This is my absolute first place to go, my favorite benefit. So it's true that not all employers offer it. It's kind of a sleeper, but basically it lets you sock away money for retirement, and it's actually triple tax-free. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. This account lets you put money away, just like your IRA or your 401k, without having to pay taxes on the money that you're investing. Okay. You can actually invest the money that gets put into this account. It doesn't just sit there. So if the money is being invested, you're not getting taxed. You're not getting taxed on the way in because the money goes in pre-tax. You're not getting taxed all during the time, the next 5 to 10 years that money grows and grows and grows, no tax. And then when you go to withdraw the money later, there's no tax. Now you're supposed to be using that money to pay for health-related expenses that your insurance doesn't cover. And you actually have to have a very high deductible to qualify for this. But when you do, and a lot of people fit this, and a lot of people, Margaret, have this right at their fingertips, and they don't know it. That's why I call it a sleeper.
So Pam, I have a question, because I thought that those plans were only for like the year, and then they expire at the end of the year, and then you start again. Is that not the case anymore?
Not the case. That is exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I mean. Most people, it's such a good question, because almost everyone thinks, if I don't use that money that year, I lose it. I lose the benefit. You do not lose it.
Wow.
It accumulates and it accumulates and accumulates. So it becomes another
account.
IRA.
Yeah.
And no tax when you take it out.
That's incredible. Yeah.
But also no tax going in.
Yeah, that's
just like the traditional IRA. So it's an amazing way to turbocharge your savings. And while it's true that when you take the money out, you're supposed to spend it on medical or healthcare related, let me tell you something. The definition of what you can use.
It's broad, yeah.
It's, oh my God, you can buy all kinds of things with this. But this is a beautiful way to save for healthcare expenses without it coming out of your pocket, no tax whatsoever. So it's a triple threat. It's a trifecta.
That's awesome.
If you didn't remember anything else, just remember, if you've got a health savings account, run to it. Just get there.
Do you know, Pam, the reason that I'm interested in this, by the way, folks, if you're like me and you're self-employed, you don't get that, remember?
Right.
So if you're thinking of working in retirement for yourself or whatever, this is something that your employer is going to give you. And I'll tell you what I did with mine, because maybe at the time I had mine, it was only for 1 year and I felt I had to spend it. Maybe, I don't remember. But I actually went and had a physical. And there was this thing called an executive medical test. It was a very expensive, $4,000 or something. And it was a top to bottom. Yeah, but it was a top to bottom medical. And because I had this in my, savings, and I used it for that purpose. And I'm telling you, it was so wonderful, because as I've gotten older, it's given me, I still keep that and look at it. It's given me like a complete place where I started with good health. They checked everything, and like full body scans and the whole thing. And that was a good way to use that money, because it gave me a level set,
It's money that you may have, look at it this way. It's money that you may or you may not have used to pay out of your own pocket for someone who has an HSA.
Exactly.
So either it's going to come out of your own pocket, or worse, you're going to forego it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to do that physically. No. You're not going to do that for yourself, because you're going to say, oh my God, that's $4,000 out of my retirement. I can't take it right now. Whereas if you'd stocked it away in this account and you don't have to pay tax on it.
I probably should have done that. Yeah.
It's just there.
We should get someone in to talk about that, Pam, because that actually in itself is a really interesting topic. And I think I'm not alone, in not knowing the terms and conditions, and also what you can do with it, like ideas. But like you're saying, just save it. That's another thing, is you forget when you're retired how much $4,000 was. When you don't have a salary coming in, you don't. To remind yourself, it's much better to keep that money earning for you while it can.
Right, but it's honestly, it's this triple tax-free business.
Yeah,
hopefully they're never going to change that.
That's very interesting.
Don't change it.
Don't tell anybody. Okay,
it's really valuable. And then the second thing that people can do to really turbocharge a boost in this last years leading up to retirement is, there's something that most people know of. They get reminded of it. It's called a catch-up provision. Mm-hmm. With IRAs and 401ks, with 401k, by the way, $19,000. You could put away $19,000 in a 401k this year, so that's important. And in your own retirement accounts, the limit is $6,000. But if you are over 50 and you meet the qualifications, which isn't more darn hard to do, you can put an extra $6,000 into your 401k plan, and that's called a catch-up provision for that reason.
Didn't know that.
It just helps you just try to catch up and make up for some lost time if you have the money and you can do it. And then for IRAs, it's $1,000, not much, but just an extra $1,000. So that kind of helps, So when you're looking at all these different ways to look for ways to turbocharge to get there, because you don't feel like you're really there yet. Just remember, you have benefits at work that might be sleeping that you're just not aware of. So it's the catch-up provision, and it's the health savings account, not the flexible savings account. They meet, honestly, circling back to that for a second, Margaret, I think when they rolled out the HSA, right after this flexible spending plan, which is different. That's the use it or lose it rule. I don't think they did a good job of educating
that's what I was thinking
people about the fact that this is different. It's really, really different. So it can be a huge help. That plus the catch-up provision. And then finally, it gets complicated because there's so many different ways and rules to basically fund a Roth IRA. But a Roth IRA is another possibility for some people if you've got earned income at the end of your career. So if nothing else, just jot that down to look into it further, because those are the three ways: the HSA, the catch-up provision, and considering if you can find out if you're eligible for a Roth IRA where you don't have to pay taxes when you take the money. So.
Great advice. This is why I love talking to you, because you reveal things that I didn't know, and I'm sure others don't either. But these are the types of things that they don't seem important when you're in that retirement. You're getting ready to jump and go and try new things, and you've got it all planned, and then suddenly you realize, I don't have that check coming in anymore. Why didn't I think of that?
And I can't even think of too many people I know in my real life who have planned retirement so well that they, unless they're like beyond wealthy, but I mean, people who have money that they've sucked away and saved really hard for their whole lives, and trying to make that money and figure out how to calibrate it to make it last the rest of your life. That's the sweet spot for me. Yeah. It's helping people who have saved and have these decisions to make. And what I really want to do is prevent them from listening to someone else who has a motivation to sell you something because you're in a weak moment.
Well, you have walked the talk. I mean, you put together a Wealth Ramp, which is this online tool where people can check out, be matched with a fiduciary advisor who is going to be at least helping them to understand some of these things you're talking about. I wanted to ask you, though, before I forget, that you've got a program, haven't you, with PBS that's coming out, or can you tell us a bit about that so we know what to look for? Because you're everywhere now. You're as you said, you're a TV celebrity, and your great advice is being shared. So what's the deal with this PBS show?
Yeah, I wanted to produce an entire 1-hour special that would be devoted entirely to explaining that even though something called the fiduciary rule for financial advisors is dead because the current administration killed it, the fiduciary standard is alive and well. What I'm really saying is that the fiduciary standard means that all financial advisors who follow and adhere to the fiduciary standard legally must put your best interest first. They have to look out for you first, not the company they work for, not the brokerage firm. So that's why it's so important to understand that advisors, and unfortunately, the advice industry is an industry and it's not a profession.
So the PBS show is just focused on that one conversation about fiduciaries. I mean, what can be more important? I mean, there comes a time when you're really having some help and you're not trying to be sold anything anymore. You just want you want an assessment of the best next steps so you can retire differently. Otherwise, you're going to be making same mistakes. It's like history will repeat itself.
Margaret, it's worse than that. It's when we're at this point where our precious dollars that we've worked so hard for, we need to make that last as long as we can. It's not only getting bad advice and the cost of that bad advice. It's also the fees that are hidden. These fees are baked into the cake, and you'll never know what they are. Yeah. And you and I, anybody, advisors feel so stupid when they look at their statements and they say, I don't understand how I'm paying this broker. I don't understand what the fees are coming out. Doesn't make any sense. They don't show you.
Yeah.
So that's not the fiduciary model. So that's what the show is all about.
Okay, well, we've got lots to talk about on all these topics, but I think we've covered the really important ones here about simple ways to boost your 401k and your IRA in those years before retirement. And hopefully, if you've got questions, leave them in the section below. Pam will be happy to answer your questions, and we'll be talking again over the next few months. But thanks for being here, everybody, and thank you, Pam, for your wonderful sage advice, as always. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our Retire Different YouTube channel and check out our website at retiredifferent.com. We are a community of people who are asking questions and trying to make good financial decisions so that we can have an amazing retirement. We'll be looking at our relationship to money and also places that we can go for support, advice, and inspiration.